Don't know why. Okay, we were just on the afternoon break on the first day of questioning of the undercover police officer Mark Jenner, who infiltrated the Colin Roach Centre and numerous anti-racist, anti-fascist, left-wing groups. I'm joined by Kathy from Police Spies Out of Lives. What have you made of the questioning?
Well, we came in this morning feeling somewhat naively optimistic, hoping that after last week's appeals from Alison and Mark's ex-wife that maybe the truth would unfold, but it's clear that there's a line being towed and a position being protected. And with what he's just said, that was interesting.
Yeah, we just heard there was just a reference to a planned Easter Rising, the Irish Republican Easter Rising, 80th anniversary march that was being organised by people from the Colin Roach Centre. And the report said that it was in the aftermath of a recent provisional IRA bombing, which had killed 2 people. And he claimed that there was people in the Colin Roach Centre who had celebrated this, were excited by it. And he said, why was that? Oh, well, some people, they're just puerile, they're just childish. Alison, for example, she was excited by it, which grew a lot of shocks from the public gallery. I mean, it's highly unlikely that Alison.
It's completely unlikely. I've known Alison for a very, very, very long time. She's an incredibly good friend, and this is just not who she is. She's a humane, caring, empathetic person. So, but if you're maintaining that position, you're going to have to provide some justification for having spied on someone and been involved in their personal life for 5 years.
I mean, it's interesting that he makes the justification now, today, but at the time he didn't report on her at all. So, I mean, if when he talks about in the report about the fact that there are people who are excited by that, he doesn't mention her. He doesn't report on her. He never reports on her.
None of the stuff we've seen. I mean, we'll have to see what tomorrow brings. But no, she's not mentioned anywhere. He's mentioning her on the odd occasion today to say she was there and here or wherever. But no, completely neglected from all official reports because really there was nothing to report on.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen quite a lot of his reports over the last little while. A lot of stuff about meetings, about the affiliation of Colin Roach Centre with Anti-Fascist Action, with the Independent Working Class Association, about his attendance at Trevor Monaville memorial events. But I was quite shocked that in one of his reports, he said it was alleged that Trevor Monaville was killed at the hands of the police. It turns out he didn't know anything about the story of how Trevor Monaville was killed, a campaign he reported on. I mean, it just reminds me of the insensitivity of these undercover cops. It was like as if he was finding out details as we were in the hearing just now. Oh, yeah, how did he die? Oh, right. I mean, we heard it this morning where he claimed that Dwayne Brooks, was he the guy who was with Stephen Lawrence when he died? I mean, it's not credible that he doesn't know these things.
No, and what's been clear today is there's an awful lot of I don't recall, an awful lot of I don't remember, and then about a lot of bits that suit. There's an awful lot of detail, and an awful lot of recall, and an awful lot of remembering. But yes, there's an awful lot of blame on other people, particularly Mark Metcalf.
Yes, yeah. I mean, essentially, he puts down any factual inaccuracies that exist in his reporting, and there are a great deal. Oh, well, that's what Mark Metcalf told me, so I just reported it verbatim. Now, he's already said he knew that Mark Metcalf would exaggerate, but that doesn't appear to have affected his reporting. He still just puts exactly whatever Mark Metcalf tells him, he claims, in his reports.
Yeah, and also another consistent theme is well, this was written in the report. Oh, well, I wasn't responsible for writing the report. I just provided them with the raw information. They wrote what they wanted, which seems a bit of a sort of a get-out clause as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Again, that's when it suits him. When it's a detail that he doesn't want to stand behind, then he says that. When it's something he does stand behind, that doesn't appear to be a problem at all. We saw a bunch of his reporting about some named individuals. One of them was Steve Headley. We saw this thing about him being violent, strong Irish accent, heavy drinker. And he said, well, what do you base this on? He said, oh, well, I knew he'd had confrontations and I knew he was an intimidating character. I said, have you got any specific examples of violent acts that Steve Headley had carried out? And he didn't.
No, it seems as if those descriptors were being put in there in order to target him. And I saw well, I watched his evidence last week, Steve's evidence last week, and he addressed this too. And, you know, he said, apart from the fact that I've got a sort of a really strong accent, which a lot of people from Ireland have, I'm none of those things really. So, yeah, it's sort of...
well, I mean, he did confess he was a heavy drinker at the time. I mean, what I found particularly interesting was that those markers for violent then meant that report... You said, well, what do you think was going to happen to these reports? He said, well, because he was marketed violent, that would go on a police national computer, which means that any police officer would be able to see it. And he said, yes, because the police officers need to know that this man was violent. Again, this is based on no evidence whatsoever. And really, you know, I mean, this has quite long... Like quite big consequences. That means
consequences.
Yes, Steve Headley's marked as violent by any police officer he comes into contact with for the rest of his life. And complete unrepentant from Mark Jenner there.
Well, you know, we there's, you know, I'm slightly different to a lot of the people that you have talking here, because I've come in to support, you know, the campaign because I'm such a good friend. And so the friends that knew him, you know, we were socializing with him. We've been questioning amongst ourselves, who is this person? Who could do something like this? And I suppose sitting on the stand there, being really detached and is part of what enabled him to do that in the first place. And all of them, and, you know, the whole operation. I mean, you know, whether we'll know the full truth in the long run, you know, we can hope. But what would be nice is an apology somewhere along the line.
I don't think we're going to get one. He seems completely unrepentant for anything. I mean, as far as he's concerned, everything that has been put to him about his behaviour was necessary. It was proportionate. It was justified. There hasn't been a scintilla of anything suggesting any sort of regret or apology.
No.
I mean, he referred to the relationship with Alison as necessary.
Yeah, well, that's how we started the day. Yes. Shockingly, yes, having sex with somebody, a member of the public, is something that you have to do in order to be an undercover officer.
It's quite wild. I mean, it's funny. I mean, we've seen so many of these undercover officers now. When it's come to sexual relationships, many of them just put their hands up and gone, "Yeah, I shouldn't have done it, but you know, like I'm a man and she liked me, so I just did it." And oh well, there we are. What a bad man I am. None of that. There's been none of that at all.
No, and we'll have to see whether there is any apology towards his ex-wife. Obviously, there are children involved with his ex-wife. I mean, you know, it's probably not the place to talk about that, but you know,
I mean, it's going to come up. I mean, we haven't had much about the relationship at all. I mean, like he like you say, he does like to pepper in mentions of Alison, just to throw shade, essentially. Like we had this thing about him going to Sunderland, which we saw the authorization for, that was claimed it was for a meeting, and he's, oh yeah, it was mostly for a football match, but we picked up some papers from Mark Metcalfe's parents' house, and Alison came as well, mind.
Alison, well, he's you know, I was surprised by that. We sort of laughed at the back and just gasped at the end as before we've come into the break about saying that she found that amusing or funny. But he's got to justify what he was doing. That's what it seems to be.
Yeah. Is there anything you're hoping to hear from him apart from an apology, which I don't think seems very likely?
The truth. But it really ultimately, that's, you know, after all these years, the amount of processing, and I mean, obviously being involved with Peace or Police Fires Our Lives, I know the stories of many of the women. So it would just be nice to acknowledge the damage that's been done, the pain over the years.
Yeah, but it's only a short break. We're going to be going back in a minute. It's only a 10-minute break. So thanks for joining us. We'll be hearing more from Mark Jenner when we go back in. He's also being questioned for the rest of the week. It might even run as far as Thursday. Please join us for the rest of it. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.